Welcome everybody to Bible Over a Beer. I'm Randy.
I'm Steve. Salute.
Doing a remote one. I'm in Florida, so we got to do the best we can here. We're going to keep going. We're on Judges.
Rub it in. I'm back in the cold white north, great white north.
Hasn't been awesome here, but it's better than there. Chapters 13 through 21. Judges. This will actually be the last judge, and then it goes on to some different stories.
Yep,
right?
Yep.
So the birth of Samson, chapter 13. So his life was going to begin with some promise, so we thought, but he ended up being not a saint. Far from a saint.
No.
He was promiscuous. He was violent.
Prideful.
He was arrogant.
Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah, and it took me a bit to kind of get some of that because I'm familiar with Samson from Bible studies. But yeah, so you want to kick us off with some details, or?
Yeah, so we're going to start off chapter 13. Israelites did what? They did evil again.
And
the Philistines they ruled them for 40 years.
Which is interesting in the 40 years because that was how long they were in the desert. So that's a significant time.
Yeah, that is interesting. I didn't think about that and put those together. So there's a man named Manoah. Is that how you say it?
Your favorite person. It's
every word, every name ends with A-H just about. Manoah from Zorah. He's a Danite.
Yep.
And he has a barren wife. I don't think they ever say her name.
They didn't say her name. There's a few things, in this chapter that didn't mention names. So
we are on chapter 13, verse 3 through 4. An angel of the Lord appears to Zorah by herself. Beholden, you are barren and have no born children, but you shall conceive and bear a son. Therefore, be careful and drink no wine or strong drink and eat nothing unclean. Those are her instructions from this man who appeared to her.
And dedicate him. He'll be dedicated to God. Yep.
Yeah, the angel of the Lord, no razor shall come to his head. That's the child. For the child shall be a Nazarite to God from the womb and shall begin to save Israel from the hand of the Philistines. So, future judge on his way.
Yep.
So this lady's excited. She's excited and she runs to her husband and tells him what happened about the man.
Yep. And so what I'm trying to remember on the notes on this is, I took a lot again, but I was trying to think on the order of this. Did he not believe her the first time, or he was not confused? He was confused.
I think that he was excited, actually. I think that he did. And he prayed to the Lord for the man to come back so that he could speak to himself.
And then ask him how to raise it. So yeah, that's what I got. That's good.
Yeah. He had questions, right? Like I'd be like, wait a minute, we need more information than that, other than don't take a razor and don't drink wine, right? I mean, how are we supposed to raise this kid, right? He sounds like he'd be a very special human being. I mean, what are we supposed to do here? We got to feed him certain foods. They have to work out with weights. What do we got to do, right?
A certain costume for him, lightning bolts on his chest. Yeah, so it's like, honey, hello, who talked to you and said what? And he's going to be what? So then it can leave it off. He prayed, and lo and behold, the angel came back to his wife.
Yes, right.
And then they basically
she ran and got her husband, and he came out to talk to him.
Yep. And then so it's adding probably more details we want to, but they offered him, make him food, and he said, even though you detained me, I thought was interesting.
Yeah, right. Offer a sacrifice.
Yeah, but if you're going to offer a sacrifice, do it to the Lord, and that's the interesting thing, because I think to this point they think it's a person, a man. They're not certain, I guess, because what happens is God does something special when they burn this up. The angel disappears, and he's gone, and then the husband Manoah.
He said he went up in the flame, and that's when they fell on their faces, which is an expression of, oh my goodness,
that must be. It's a common
in their mind. Yeah, maybe faint. I would probably faint.
Maybe that is for faint. Good point. Anybody know? Leave us, please comment on that one.
Right? It's like magic. It's like, no, that can't be real. Now he did say something I thought was interesting. Manoah asks for his name. That was chapter 13, verse 17. What is your name? And the angel replied, why do you ask my name, seeing it is wonderful?
I thought, so you said it was seeing it was wonderful?
Seeing, he's basically saying that his name is
Oh,
like
yeah,
maybe wonderful, like
yeah,
it just
yeah.
wouldn't
He
make
couldn't
sense, or he
yeah,
wouldn't be able to hear it with his ears or something,
couldn't comprehend it. Yeah, it was that. Yeah,
comprehend it.
I thought that was interesting. I was waiting to hear because I heard there's some names and I think Michael and the other
Yeah.
individual of the two angels named in the Bible, and this would be possibly neither one because he didn't name himself. So
And you're going to see too, as we go through this, that there are a few things that are going to sound familiar. And
oh yeah,
this is one of them right here. Chapter 13, verse 22, Manoah says to his wife, oh my gosh, we saw the Lord's face. Right? Like he was thinking that that was God and now we're going to die. And
Yeah.
she basically replied, well, after everything that he just told us and did, I don't think he's going to kill us. It's basically what she replied.
yeah. So you said Menorah's wife thought that it was Menorah who was fearful, and then the wife's like, "Hey, you really think he wants to kill us?" I mean,
Okay.
he would have. So he wouldn't have. He wouldn't have accepted the burnt offering. So just want to make sure that we're on the same page. Yeah, because that's interesting. There's other stuff. After Samson, we'll get into this familiar that we hear, other than the fact that the whole theme in this Old Testament is the Israelites did evil again. That's over and over.
They're no better. You can't tell the Israelites from the Canaanites at this point.
Well, because they're mixed in with them, that they're doing exactly what God said not to do. That's what I'm kind of getting the big picture. Last time I didn't, I had to actually text edit the big picture in because you can't do it without God. I forgot to bring that. Theme is again, right? Doesn't matter what they do. They go back to their ways as soon as somebody goes. But continuing on, so chapter 14, Samson is
marriage. Well, actually, she had Samson right before the chapter ends. She had Samson, and the Lord blessed him, right? Yeah. So we'll start with chapter 14, Samson's marriage. So obviously, we're skipping ahead to when he's grown up. Yes. He travels to Timnah. Again, ends with A-H. Would you say Timnah, a town?
Oh, yeah. Where the Philistine lady is, wanted to marry.
He sees a beautiful woman, and he goes back to his parents and says, now get her as my wife.
Well, Timnah is what you're saying. I don't know, it could be Timnah, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
So he goes back to the parents, and I want her for my wife. And the parents are a little, not too thrilled about this. They're like, well, the Philistines are uncircumcised scuzzbags, really. Are you sure? We've got people in our own tribe that you can marry. And he says, this is kind of a reoccurring thing, she is right in my eye.
What?
So he's,
go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so this is who he wants. He's decided.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the parents didn't know, but we're learning now. It was God's plan, so he can. This is his way to get, because the Philistines were the rulers, right? They were over top. I don't know if they were enslaving them or if they just kind of ruled over their cities. So it was kind of, you don't want to intermix. But this was God's choice because he wanted to free them. This is a way to get at them if he needed one. But yeah.
So on the way to Timnah, so it's an interesting story. And it says he's traveling with his parents, but then it also goes on to say that he didn't tell his parents about this, but he has a lion that basically attacks Samson. So in chapter 14, verse 6, the Spirit of the Lord came over Samson, and he ripped the lion to pieces.
Like a little goat, yeah. So but it was important to put that in there because it was obviously noted that it wasn't Samson alone. It was God came over him, and that's a theme with this. Every time Samson is to do something, God enables that, which is significant.
And we also said back in chapter 13 that a razor is never to be touched to his head. That's also going to be significant down the road.
Oh, definitely.
You'll learn why.
Yep. For sure.
Once that's done, he rips the lion apart. He gets to where he's going, and he goes to talk to that woman that he wants.
Yes, and obviously she likes him, and then
he travels. So it says he basically travels home and then comes back to get her, but it doesn't really give much detail in between there.
Yeah, and I wanted to add kind of to the conversation piece, just in case somebody knows, because there's probably a bigger picture to this. Well, maybe not. We got the big picture about God. With God, you can. Without, you can't. But on his trip, he kills the lion, right? And then he didn't tell his parents, and he didn't tell anybody.
Right.
And his parents. So I'm assuming they maybe didn't go the whole way to Timnah. So they
Yeah,
brings him back.
possibly. Yeah, possibly.
Well, then he goes to
So maybe he goes to speak with them again or to get them.
yeah, I think he goes to get them. I think he left them outside or whatever the town, and he goes in and out. So then he brings them in, and then they meet, they meet the family, and that's
Yeah.
when they throw this.
Well, the only thing about them being with him is that when he's returning, he comes across the lion's dead body. And again, he sees all kinds of bees, and he goes to check out the body. Inside the body is a bunch of bees and honey. And he uses his hand to scoop a bunch out. And when he got to his folks or met his folks, he gave some to them.
Which is
didn't tell folks where it came from.
Or how he got it. Yeah, he just did it. And it was interesting too, because you're right. So I skipped ahead. That was when he went back to his house. And I thought at first that was ambiguous. Well, what's that have to do with it? But it goes to kind of him being boastful a little bit, because he's apparently a poet. Because when he later on, sometime later, he travels back to his parents, took the bees. So that was sometime later. So this is so it's weird, right? So it is sometime later, he goes back to his parents and takes the bees. So I'm guessing it's not that road trip, because
Honey.
Yeah, I'm assuming this lion has been, just bones now. I'm certain it's not a rotten carcass that he would scoop honey out of. So
yeah.
But
what was interesting too is I remember the angel told her that she's not supposed to eat anything unclean. But that's while she was pregnant. But then I was thinking, well, I wonder if that applied to her later in life also, because obviously that honey would be unclean.
Well, yeah, because it wasn't a dead animal.
But it didn't seem to have any negative effect on her. There's nothing in the story later.
Yeah, it was about
in a negative way.
Yeah, it was about Samson, because he's now living with his wife in Timnah, and his parents come to visit, and they throw a feast for him. And apparently there's over several days. And that's when he told a riddle. Out of the eater something to eat, out of the strong something sweet. And he had told the people, because I'm not certain, I didn't get the gist of it, but there was like 30 people I think in his traveling party. And he said he'd give them his stuff if they could.
So these are people from her town, because that's where they're at.
Yep.
And he basically was going to say, if I win, you got to give me this, or if you win, I got to give you this. And I think it was the last day they kept pressuring her all week long. Tell us the answer. And she refused to, obviously, but at the end, they basically threatened her. I think threatened her life and her family's life. So she gave in and told them. And then they went and told Samson the answer to the riddle, and he was not happy. And he said to them, I thought this was interesting. Chapter 14, verse 18. If you had not plowed my heifer, you would not have found out my riddle. I thought that was interesting, right? Because obviously he's thinking, plowed my heifer. Is he implying that they had sex with his wife?
I don't know. I didn't get
plowed her brain for the information. Interesting choice of words there.
Yeah, it was interesting, because it was very interesting. I didn't get that. So yeah, anybody can offer that some commentary there, please do, because
I'm thinking like modern day, maybe.
Yeah, you're thinking like today. That's what I would think today.
Right.
They thought stuff like that back then, but I don't think
just the fact that they kept badgering her, right? They kept badgering her. Maybe that's what it's referring to. So obviously he is very upset, and he leaves his wife and gives her to his, and I think they said companion, which was also his best man, they referred to him as.
Yeah, so I'm going to back up a little bit because of the bee story. So the answer to the riddle was out of the eater something sweet, out of the strong something sweet. Well, sorry, the answer was, what is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than the lion? So that's Samson telling him about who he is. That's who he is. I'm getting that, right? Because the riddle made no sense, but he killed this lion, then they took bees from it and they were sweet. So I think he was describing himself. That was his riddle.
And there would be no way for anybody to guess that answer. I mean, it'd be impossible.
Yeah, obviously. So, but yeah, and they did press, but this is um a setup for at least the rest of Samson is, the he picks bad ladies. So, well, there's only two of them, but
Well, he does. I mean,
also
on the road. I mean, he's a little promiscuous, right?
yeah, what I meant, so I want to clear up what I got out of it. So when he left, it was ambiguous so he left and she was given to his companion. Well, that was left that way, but later on, so when he comes to visit, he found his father-in-law is, wait, I thought you just tested her, so I gave her to your companion.
Yeah, I was confused by that. Right.
Yeah, so he gave it to her. So he's like, what? Are you kidding me? So he's pissed now. And
I'll have to go back and reread that part because for some reason I thought there was a contradiction there. It made it sound like he gave her away, and then later on it did say the father said I gave her.
Yeah, that's what I was confused on. I mean, but
yeah, anybody know? Comment. Let us know what you think.
Yeah,
I'll go back and check. Yeah, so the chapter 15, Samson defeats the Philistines. So here we go. Now he's very, very angry and he's going to get his revenge. So after some time, like Steve said, he goes back to see his wife, and the father said, oh, give her to your companion. But then the father offers the younger daughter. She's more beautiful anyway.
Yeah.
Go ahead and take her. He doesn't like that deal either. So you want to tell what he does?
Yeah, it's odd. Yeah, so he grabs up 300 foxes and ties them in pairs, and then obviously tethers a torch to them and sets them loose with the torches lit into their fields and burns their fields up and the villages up. That's quite an interesting thing to do. I mean, I think there's easier ways to do it.
First of all, to get 300 foxes, I thought that was impressive alone, and then to tie their tails, wow.
And with the torch to them while they're, not attacking you and biting you, sending them on the way. Go, you have at it. But I mean, imagine that.
Yeah. And that's basically was short and sweet. There's nothing more to really say, but that was short and sweet, and boom, there you go.
Well, then
so everything gets burned, and the Philistines, they're not too happy. They go to the father and the daughter basically and say, why have you let this happen to us? I mean, for this, we were going to burn you with fire. So I'm assuming they were put to death.
So I thought, so in 15:8, chapter 15, verse 8, I'm paraphrasing it because I didn't quote it. So they were mad. So the people killed his wife's family. Yeah. I was thinking, and then so Samson killed a bunch of them. Okay, that's why. Then he fled. I don't know if he fled, but he went to the rock of Adam. That's chapter 15:8. So, and then, obviously they were mad. They wanted to get Samson for this revenge because these are the people. Like, who are you to do this to us? We're in charge of you, not the other way around. So they're pursuing him, and then they get to the tribe of the Judah area.
Yeah.
And the Judah's like
town near Lehi. It says the cleft of the rock of Edom is how they described it. So I think it's a cave. I think it's like this natural structure where he went to stay for whatever reason.
Well, yeah, he went to go, and then when the Philistines came up to Judah, and some of the people asked him, well, why are you here to attack us? And they're like, no, we're not. We're here to get Samson.
So basically, Samson for us, or we will do you in.
Yep. So they sent 3,000 men because apparently he's the notorious dude. So from the tribe of Judah, they went down to get him, and he's like, hey, they explained what they're doing there for, and he said, as long as you promise not to kill me, I'll freely turn myself over. So they tethered him with, tied his arms or something, and then they proceeded back to Lehi.
2 new ropes. Now, I'm trying to remember. Nobody said anything about the 2 new ropes will work, or you know what I mean, or he didn't give up that information that, hey, if you tie my hands with 2 new ropes, that's like later on when he's talking to his future person. You know what I'm talking about? We'll get to that a little later. Vague there, so you don't give it away.
I'm not going to give it away. I'm just going to say about the new ropes in this specific situation. It expresses I think new ropes are stronger than older ropes. So they're just saying that he's a strong dude. So we're gonna tie him up.
Yep. So they delivered him over, and the Spirit of the Lord came over him, and the ropes melted, basically, is what it said. Chapter 15, verse 15 through 16. He picked up a donkey jawbone and struck 1,000 men. With the jawbone of a donkey, heaps upon heaps, with the jawbone of a donkey, I have struck down 1,000 men.
Wow. Now
Jawbone of a donkey.
another donkey. So
And
interesting.
then I read, and I want to look this up later. I know it was one of these things. I think Lehi, the translation of that is jawbone. I thought that was
it's Ramoth Lehi. It's called, that's translation is Jawbone Hill.
okay. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah,
So it's interesting. I wanted to ask, I mean, out of curiosity, we're both supposed to be reading NIV version. So my quote on this one is, with a donkey's jawbone, I have made donkeys of them. With a donkey's jawbone, I've killed 1,000 men. That's a little different. So maybe you must have flipped into another one. Not that it matters. I mean, it says the same thing. It's just, I'm like, wow.
My phone later to make sure I'm still on the NIV. I believe I am, but that's interesting.
If you are, we both are, then there's a problem. That's
Yeah, that's interesting though.
yeah. I mean, it reads the same thing. I mean, it
Right.
means the same thing. It reads differently, but yeah. But it's I thought too was kind of cool, because kind of cool, kind of weird. He's a strong dude. He beats these guys up. I mean, why a donkey? Well, he found a dead donkey. I guess that was a good weapon. But he's cried to the Lord, "Oh my goodness, are you gonna let me die?" It's a theme, you know. What you just did, God gives you the power. God's with you. You talk to God, and you always whine. Are you gonna let me die here because of thirst? And you know, of course, God.
Yeah. That's exactly how I picture it too. He's like a little whining kid.
Or a big whining kid.
He was thirsty. Chapter 15, verse 19. God split open the hollow place that is at Lehi, and water came from it. Samson was able to drink to his heart's content.
Yep.
And it said that Samson judged Israel for 20 years at the very end of that chapter.
In the days of the Philistines. So I have to think that they lived amongst, and the Philistines were the powerful people. I don't think they were like the Egyptians were over them.
Right.
Or the other people. I just think that they were kind of like the Romans were to the Jewish people in the New Testament.
Right. So probably collecting taxes and making them do some not so fun work and so on. Chapter 16, Samson and Delilah.
Romeo.
That's somebody we've all heard of, I think. You know, even if you haven't been a churchgoer or you've never read the Bible, we've all heard of Samson and Delilah.
Yeah, Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, right.
And Delilah. I can't sing, but that is, well, they're both in, you know.
It starts with Samson going to Gaza to visit a prostitute. That tells you right there what kind of guy we're dealing with.
Exactly.
The Philistines get wind of this, and they surround the building in hopes of capturing him. But it turns out he had already left like earlier or something like that.
Well, they barred the city down, so it's interesting. It's not going to hold me. Puts it over his head and takes it out with him. The door.
Okay.
Gateway.
Right, yeah.
Like, okay. So, I mean, we know you're strong. I mean,
yeah.
So.
See, in a case like that, it doesn't say the Lord came over him. I mean, he's just naturally that strong all the time.
Well, I think he's strong, and then when he does miraculous things is when God gives him the power.
Yeah, I didn't write any of that down. That was a good story, though, where he kind of ripped the gate off, carried it away.
Well, yeah, because I was wondering, they didn't really add too much to it other than he did. That applied, he snuck out. But continue on. So
yeah, he fell in love. He went to a place called the Valley of Sorek, and he met a woman named Delilah, and he fell in love. So when the Philistines got wind of this, right, they went to Delilah and said, you know, if we offer you, this is chapter 15, verse 5, 1,100 pieces of silver each to seduce and find out how they could overpower him.
Chapter 16, verse 5.
Sorry, chapter 16, verse 5. Yeah, so they want to know, you know, we want this guy, but we don't know how to do it. It's too strong.
Yep.
It's his weakness, like Superman with kryptonite.
So it's just the pattern. That's the pattern. I mean, the ladies do him in. I mean, that's the point. Samson and Delilah. So it's.
Well, she obviously had no love for this guy.
She clearly does not. I mean, she's a Philistine, so she's arrogant probably. But what I don't get is he must be a little thick-headed, because now I get it. The first wife, she bugged the crap out of me, told him once, and he, crap hit the fan. This
He's
time, it's how many times?
he's not the Marion type.
Yeah, but he picks bad ladies because, I mean, he's 3 times. I mean, of course, I don't think he knew that she had brought the Philistines were lying in wait each time. I think she just was really testing him, and then she's getting
Yeah.
pissed. But he's got to figure. Go
I
ahead.
want to say that I would have probably caught on, but he didn't. So I don't know what that says about him, but he didn't catch on. So we're talking about chapter 16, verse 7 through 17. All right. There's a whole chain of events here where they're in their home and she's asking him, oh, just out of curiosity, how could you be tied up? How could you be subdued? And his first answer to her when she first asked was 7 fresh bowstrings that have not been dried. They will make him weak like any other man. So she ties him up when he falls asleep. And then she goes and tells the Philistines. And they're outside the door. And she says, oh my gosh, wake up, Samson. The Philistine. And he goes out and crushes them. Is he like waking up wondering why he's tied up?
So interesting, you said he crushed him. I don't recall that. I'll have to read it again too. I thought he wasn't aware at all until the last time. So
each time he went out, basically, and
oh, so he did go out. Okay, so like I said, I saw it and I kept reading it in dismay, going,
yep,
really good, really, dude. So we'll go with that.
Point, they thought that that she had found out the truth, so they were ready to take him out. But
they were ready, but I didn't think they came in, and I think she, because especially at the first time,
97% sure, but that
yeah,
doesn't.
No big deal. We'll look. I mean, I said I didn't write that. I thought I was just dumbfounded by the fact that he was tested, basically 4 times. Well, 3 times.
Right.
Tested. The 4th one didn't take. So continue.
Second time was new ropes that have never been used. That didn't work. Third one was weave the 7 locks with my head with a web and fasten it with a pin. I don't know what a web is, but then fasten it with a pin. That didn't work either. So here we are at the 4th time. She's very upset, and he knows that he's really upset her at this point. So he tells her all his heart. He tells her that a razor has never touched his head. If his head is shaved, he'll be weak. He'll be like any other man.
Yep.
She tells the Philistines. She brings the guy in. The guy shaves his head. When he awakens, the Lord had left him.
But his strength and bond. Yep. They overcame and beat him up and gouged his eyes out.
Gouged out his eyes and put him in prison in Gaza.
Yeah, and then his job was to basically pound grain, I guess it was.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like in prison.
Right. Grain in prison. That was 16 verse 21. So
right.
They brown.
Still in chapter 16, the death of Samson.
Yep.
Chapter 16, verse 23, the Lords of the Philistines gathered to offer a sacrifice to their god Dagon.
Was it Dagon? The Dagon.
Call Samson so that he may entertain us. I don't know what they wanted Samson to do a little song and dance or what, but call Samson so he may entertain us. So they're in a very large, what would this place be? Would it be a house of worship, or would it be a gathering place for the town, or
kind of like a convention hall or something like that? Yeah, it's someplace with a lot of pillars that that hold up the roof and the structure, because they're significant to this chapter.
A big place filled with men and women. Not only that, but there's 3,000 men and women on the roof that had a view. I guess there must have been an opening where they could look down and see what was going on.
Yeah.
So he says in chapter 16, verse 28, "O Lord God, please remember me and please strengthen me only this once, O God, that I may be avenged on the Philistines for my 2 eyes." And what did he do?
Well, what he did after he asked his people leading him around to place him near some pillars. So what he did is he took the pillars and he pushed them, and he said, what did he say? He cried out,
"Let me down with the Philistines." And I've seen that in the movie before.
And he did, and so it's interesting, yeah. So he was.
That's a lot of people. He killed more people in that one instance than he did his whole life.
Yep, which was interesting. Yep. So But they're also added too that his hair, but because this must have been some time because his hair did start growing back, so he did have some strength. So, but anyways, yep. So, and then from there, I don't know about you, but when I first read 17, it was on Micah, and a figure out of what was the city he was from. And I don't think there's a whole lot to add on this, but there's it's interesting. So Micah, what's that?
The hill country of Ephraim.
Oh yeah, like I say, I thought I had notes on that. But anyways, it's interesting that it starts off with him stealing 100 shekels from, or 1,100 shekels from his mother of silver.
Right.
And he confesses. She's all excited. Oh, my son confessed and gave me my money back. So she says, I'm gonna give this to the Lord. So she takes the $200 of the 200 silver shekels and gives it to a silversmith, and they make an ephod. Is it an ephod?
Made a metal image, a carved
idol, made an idol and gave it to Micah. And then he put it in his house, and then he made one of his kids, and he made an ephod and then some other god gold figures, I think they are.
Yeah. And a shrine.
Then he appointed his son to be a priest. And then here comes the repeat. This is chapter 17, verse 6. Israel had no king, so they did what they wanted.
Yeah.
They did as they
That's going to be the recurring theme for the entire book on that.
Yeah, so it's the reason why I got confused. Okay, then a Levite come up and need a place to stay. You stay with them, and I'm kind of skipping through this a little bit because there's a lot to this, or not a lot to it, but 18 kind of makes up for what 17 lacked. Because it kind of goes, I think, with it all together. But Mike confused me what this is about. Then he basically, the Levite comes up and he stays with him, and he's like, "Oh, you're a Levite. With me, I'll give you 10 shekels a year." Which he must be a rich guy. And I'm assuming he's a Philistine. I probably missed over that, but I think Micah is a Philistine, or maybe he's not. I'm sorry, he's probably not. I'll correct it if I find out, if we even know. But he stays with him, and he said he buy his clothes.
And the Levite's thrilled.
Yeah, he's thrilled with that, and then it's interesting because then, what I'm like, that was kind of random.
Yeah, it was very random.
Yeah. And then chapter 18, the tribe of Dan were seeking for a place to live. Apparently, they hadn't found their homeland, which is interesting. Because I thought we had that laid out, and when we did a few chapters or books ago.
Seeking an inheritance. I was, yeah.
Well, I think
do more research on that.
Yeah, some subsets of the tribes, I think it is. So, anyways, they're looking for their land, and they heard about this place near Ephraim. They go up there and they recognize the Levite's voice. Again, they didn't mention the Levite's voice, the Levite, and they're like, "Wow, why are you here and what are you doing?" And so he told them. And then they went back to their people, because these were spies looking for new land, and the people, like, we could take them, and then they went back up with 600 men and approached Micah's house. And Micah apparently wasn't home, just the Levite was. But he wasn't, aware of what's going on. But they went in and stole the stuff. And he came in and like, "What are you doing?" They basically, told him, "Well, wouldn't you rather be a priest? Come with us and be our priest. It's better to be a priest of a tribe than a one household." And he didn't even bat an eye. He's like, "All right."
He's happy with any offer he gets, basically. Okay, I'll be your priest. The arrogance of it all, you know what I mean? Especially with Micah, he was trying to set himself as being this, like setting himself on this pillar, like he's making himself something special. He had no faith in anything. He had faith in God and
idols. Yeah, when in the Levite just catered to it, I guess. I don't know. So I guess I said this chapter 8 made some sense, but maybe it gets back into it still doesn't make sense. What did you get out of Micah? I don't, other than, I think it is. I'm sorry. They
like some hidden meaning in here or something. I'm just looking at it as a story. I mean, right now, that's how I'm looking at it. It reads as if it's a story. They're just recounting history. I'm not grasping a whole lot of meaning out of it.
Yeah, it seemed ambiguous a little bit, but I do see that they didn't attack that city. They went to Laish, or Laish, there were people at peace and attacked and burned their city down. So I think that's setting up um, something. But chapter 9, we get into Levite.
Chapter 19.
Yeah, chapter 19. What did I say? 9?
Yeah.
Chapter 19, Levite and his concubine, which
Yeah, this chapter was disturbing to me.
very well, it was disturbing, and then it was also repetitive to some of the
Yeah.
stories I heard earlier.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, exactly. This has to deal with sexual violence.
Well, not only, yes, that, and then, yeah, we'll get to it in a second. I want to set it up.
Yeah.
We'll set it up with, so a Levite took a concubine as his wife. So I'm not, that's a paraphrase, but he talked about the Levite and his concubine, then it refers to him as his wife, which is so confusing.
Okay.
But she was an unfaithful wife, apparently. I mean, she was
unfaithful, it said, yeah.
Yep. And she left him and returned to her home in Bethlehem. Sorry. 4 months later, the Levite went to her home and asked her to come back. Then her father-in-law, or her father, she stayed with him. He liked them. This is where it kind of gets a little weird.
Yeah. Yeah, the father-in-law kept trying to get him to stay. Like, hey, spend another night. You can leave in the morning. And then morning rolls around and they're eating and drinking. Leave this afternoon. I wasn't sure where that was heading. So he finally had enough and he said, you know what, we're leaving.
Yeah, and so they
it was different.
Yeah, so I'm not even sure why, but they finally, when they left, they stopped in almost because it was almost the evening, right? In a town square in Benjamin, near Gibeah.
Right.
And then apparently nobody would take them in right away, and they had all the provisions. So apparently
that
it
must have been a thing back then. If you saw some people you took them in your house.
And it might be an end thing too, but I don't know. But anyways, later on, an old man finished his job or day's work and asked them what they're doing there and said, come stay with me. And so they did. They went and he fed them. I don't think he even let them use their own provisions. I think he took care of them for what it reads.
Right.
And then chapter 19, verse 22, this is where it gets disturbing. Once settled in, some wicked men from the town pounded on the old man's door, demanding he send out the Levite so they can have sex with him. Really?
Yeah.
This is Sodom and Gomorrah stuff that God destroyed.
The same thing. I want to say I'm pretty sure they did not say that we can have sex with them. We'll have to go back and look at that. Chapter 19, verse 22. That was the difference that I remember from that, is they don't specifically say, because then the man of the house says, do not do this vile thing. So he knew what they meant.
Well, they wouldn't have sex with the man. Right,
but I don't think they said it, at least in what I read.
I quoted this from, so we have to recap it again. So, and then here's paraphrase how it returns to the craziness. The old man offers his virgin daughter and the Levite's concubine.
Yeah, I'll send out my virgin daughter and you can have the concubine. Well, and they didn't want that. They weren't happy.
But he put the concubine out, and this is where it gets horrible. The wicked men were mad and raped and abused this concubine throughout the night.
Yeah.
And in the morning, she makes her way back to the old man's house and collapses in the doorway, and the Levite comes out and finds her, and she's dead.
Right. So she perished.
This is bizarre.
Yep. Chapter 19, verse 29. He took a knife and divided her. Well, he took her home, took her dead body home. He took a knife and divided her into 12 pieces and sent her throughout all the territories of Israel.
Yep. And they had, so in the Israelites haven't seen this since they left Egypt. So it must have been a thing. I don't know what thing it is, but I don't know. I don't understand this at all, because he missed her so much. He went to her to get her from her father's house. What we don't know is he mad and he was going to get revenge on her before leaving him. Maybe that's why he didn't care.
He had no problem throwing her out to the people.
Yeah. Well, the old man did it, but he let her do it. So I don't know, that it's so far.
Then he gets up in the morning. Well, it's time to go back home. Let's see where my concubine's at. He opens the door. Oh, like he's surprised.
Yep. So we have 2 chapters left. Chapter
Chapter
20.
20, Israel's war with the tribe of Benjamin. So, you know,
Yep.
these tribes of Israel have battled each other before, right?
Yep. And well, at least in Judges, that's for sure.
You know, if they're considered a country, that's civil war, right? That's a form of civil war right there.
Well, as we'll find out, it's something they don't want to do.
It'd be like South Carolina and North Carolina going to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I wonder who would win. North Carolina, probably. Just kidding.
People of Israel heard what the Benjaminites had done, and a group of 400,000 Israelites gathered for battle. So he sent those pieces out, right? All of Israel heard about this, and now they are ready to battle the Benjaminites.
What's interesting though,
in chapter 20, verse 12 through 13, what's that?
So I want to add just one thing I want to add to that is when he was recalling the story, I noticed that he told them all that happened, but he said they intended to kill him. Well, in the version I had, which we'll have to, I mean, in NIV version, it said have sex with him. So that's different. So I think he's embellishing this story.
Okay.
What I'm getting, whether that's true or not. So continue on.
Yeah, and it could have been both, right? Could have been the death after. Chapter 20, verses 12 through 13. What evil is this that has taken place among you? Now give up these men so that they may be put to death. They should have given them up. I don't know how many men there were that did the raping, but they should have given up those men. They didn't.
Are you talking about? Okay, so you skipped up when they went down to ask when they sent
Benjaminites, yeah.
Some messengers. Yeah, okay. I'm like, wait, it's like here we are. Yeah, so that's interesting. I thought for sure it's like, hey, we're gonna be nice, we're gonna send some messengers, and they're like, nope, we're gonna battle your 400,000 troops.
The Israelites sent out to all the tribes, you know, we need to unite on this, and they gathered 26,000 men. 700 were left-handed and could sling a stone at a hair and not miss.
That's the Benjaminites, the Benjaminites.
They gathered.
They gathered 26, yeah, because there was a 400,000 total on the Israelis, the rest of the Israels.
Okay. Yes, you're right. Sorry about that. Yep.
And then 700 are left-handed men. So that's there must be a significance to left-handers. So all you left-handed men out there.
I know. Yeah. Now I always thought too, because both of my dad went to a Catholic school when he was younger. Left-handers were discouraged from using their left hand. They were supposed to write with their right hand. Well, in a Catholic school. So I'll have to do some on that.
I think there's some history on the left-handed people were considered witches or warlocks because they were different. You know, back in the day, if you're different, you're different. You're
all the way in to the mid 20th century. Yeah. That's hard to believe, but it did.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
we got 400,000 men against 26,000.
So, and then of course the Israelites do the right thing. They go, and they pray about it. Well, they go to see God's, hey, who should go fight these people? And then you want to take it from there? Or?
Right, exactly. You know, who shall go up first against the Benjaminites? And the Lord said, Judah.
Yep.
But he wasn't with them for some reason. So the first battle, the Benjaminites destroyed 22,000 Israelites. Not quite sure why he wasn't with them on that.
He wasn't in them in the first 2 times.
Right. So then they went to the Lord again, crying, saying,
do we do this again?
Do we continue this? Yeah, what's going on here? And he said, yes. The second battle, they lost 18,000 men. Now they're losing heart, basically. They asked again in chapter 22, verse 28, shall we continue or cease? And the Lord said, go up, for I will give them into your hands. Israel had men, this battle sounds familiar too, doesn't it? They laid an ambush around the city. They had men basically out front to draw the Benjaminites out. They flee, the Benjaminites chase them. The other guys get up from where they're at, they rush into the city, kill, slaughter, set the place on fire. The Benjaminites turn around and see the smoke, they lose heart, and they lost that battle.
Lost that battle is an understatement. they killed all but 600 men.
That's right.
And
25,100 people died, 600 fled. Everyone was killed in the city, and the city was destroyed.
yep, I mean, it was gone. So the only people left of the Benjamites were 600 men that fled to the rock of Ryman. So, and this is when wrapping up in 21. Go ahead.
Yeah, chapter 21, the wives provided for the tribe of Benjamin. So the Benjaminites are almost wiped off the face of the planet. There's 600 of left. And the people of Israel have sort of a heart, feel kind of bad about this. They don't want the Benjaminites. They don't want a tribe to just disappear. So the men of Israel, they had taken an oath that they would not provide any of their daughters to Benjaminites, right? They're not supposed to do that anyway. So they went before God. They lifted up their voices. This is chapter 21, verse 3. Oh Lord, the God of Israel, why has this happened in Israel? That today there should be one tribe lacking in Israel.
Yep. And then, so they came up with a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Were not very nice plans.
There was a tribe that didn't show up.
Yeah, they did. So I glossed over that because they kept mentioning
Jabesh Gilead.
Well, yeah, but they mentioned the assembly at Mizpah. You're right, and I just didn't note that, but then it came back to the significance when, the one of the sub tribes. It wasn't a full tribe because we know that they're, Jabesh.
A verbal or written rule that they're all supposed to come together when called, but they did not send one person to help.
Yep. So what do they do to them?
Well, they first said, they said that those that didn't show should be put to death.
And that's just what they did. So they went into the city and they killed every man and every woman that wasn't a virgin, providing what's
That's
left.
right.
400.
Well, we'll take their daughters and we'll kill all of them. So 400 virgins from Jabesh Gilead.
Yep.
12,000 men went and killed men, women, and children. So they got punished.
So then the Benjaminites, okay, like, hey, we got you wives. So they have the wives ready. They're excited. They go back to the rock of, whatever it is, the rock of Rimmon, and get the Benjamites that were hiding out there and say, hey, we got you wives. And they come back. They're like, oh, there's not enough. We'll never be fathered.
They got 600 men and 400 virgin. I can't say the word virgin. Thank you. Okay. So we're short 200 virgins.
Yeah, exactly. So so they, I don't remember, do they pray about it? I don't know if God told them to do this, but I think chapter 2021, because this was just crazy. They instructed the Benjamites, there's a festival of the Lord of Shiloh north of Bethel, right?
Yes.
Like,
who are these people? I was confused by that. Who are these people?
I think these are not, so they're not any of the Israelite people, because the Israelite people, you can't give your wife, right? I don't know why. You're not supposed to give your wives to the surrounding people either. So these must be sub tribes, insignificant ones, other ones that maybe didn't assemble. I mean, if anybody knows, let us know, for sure. But I thought this was just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Go hide in the vineyards, and when the ladies come out to go dance, go seize one for your wife.
And how do you know the ladies that come out to dance are virgins? Or maybe at that point,
at this point it doesn't matter. They're just looking for people they can marry. So
right.
I mean, I thought, and then once they did, then they returned to Benjamin to rebuild the city. So they had the 12 tribes restored. I said 12.
Right.
I said 12 tribes, but yeah. What I thought was another thing interesting at the last verse, 21-25, and those days Israel had no king. Everyone did as they saw fit. I mean, it was like over and over and over again. So
that's mayhem. What that leads to.
Yeah, it does lead to, and I in order to not keep it super long, but what they made an emphasis on king. I mean, I think we're missing the picture here. It's not just the king. They're not. It did mention that Phinehas's Aaron's son was now their priest, and I think they consulted him. At first they said the God. Anytime they referenced seeking gods, I think they were talking to the priest, is what I believe.
We're setting up for kings, right? Because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm sort of, this is all new to me. We have kings. We're not getting to Jesus yet, right? Don't we have King David sort of coming up, or what am I thinking
Yeah,
of?
so that's where I was thinking, the left-handed people, I think, and then I'm not sure if the left-handed people, but they made a point about those who can sling something, and everybody knows the story of David and Goliath.
Right.
We'll get to it soon, but he was King David, right? And he was, but we're going into Ruth, which from what I understand, we both cheated and read ahead, which is what we want to do. I think it's the bridge, because from what that said, is we're leaving the priest line and then developing the king line, which is the lineage of Jesus ultimately.
Yep.
So we'll start the king. So the kings are important, apparently.
Yes. I think this is interesting too, because I was thinking, boy, these judges were far from perfect. So why did God choose them, or why did God bless them at all? I mean, there's no way he endorsed all their bad decisions,
Well, because our people, and I think as we'll learn from the stories I know of King David, he was great and was mighty, but he also was bad too. So we're humans. That's reemphasized. It's
right.
the big picture. The big picture is we can't walk alone. We
Right.
need God. We need God with us, guiding us.
There are no Moseses. There are no Joshuas. This is what he's left with to work with.
Well, they still had the high priest, but these other people, the judges, the leaders, right, or what they emphasized, obviously in the book by its name, but
what were the high priests doing at this point, though? We don't really know.
They lost their control. That's
right.
clear. So,
and they may be sinners themselves, and who knows?
Well, yeah, I mean,
off the reservation to do their own thing.
Yeah, we shall learn. Continue. It's still exciting. That was a good book.
Yeah, but you know what? Really, what I got over, that's how committed he is to saving his people, is that he's willing to work with these, work through these corrupt leaders. I mean, this is what he has to work with. So, but he's still committed. So, exactly. Very good.
Cool. I found it interesting. The first video was a lot of judges, so we felt it was good to split it for Samson. Yep. Interestingly, Samson was the last of the judges that were notable anyways. The most famous of them all. So he had some problems, but he still had fun stories. Yeah. With that being said, I'm looking forward to Ruth. It'll be short, probably. Maybe we'll combine, or we'll just do Ruth as a short little quick thing. But
more chapters. Yeah, I think we could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, we think
great read though. Very good read.
Yep. Everything's been a good read. I mean, it's been amazing. Yeah. Shaking my head, a lot of things. I mean, it shows you how people are people back then as they are today. The evil we see today was back then. The stupidity was back then as it is today. The theme I'm getting again over and over again. At least I don't think I'm wrong, but it's God. You need God. So
absolutely. Yes, and you know what? I'm on vacation for 3 weeks, possibly 4, and I am not taking a vacation from this. That's how important it is to me.
That's awesome. I'm love to hear that too, because who would have thought that? Like, not judging, but who would have thought that? I mean, even me, I'm looking forward to every time in
like me.
Oh no, I didn't. Don't put words in my mouth. But we can wrap this up. I think, and look forward. I thank everybody. Do your like, share, subscribe.
Like, share, subscribe. We really appreciate you joining us. Please reach out with comments. We want to get better and better at this. Again, we're not teachers. We just want to read the Bible cover to cover, and hope you join us.
And we want a conversation, so join with us. I mean, it's a lot of fun. We want commentary, and it's more about not us. Again, we're just a normal everyday dudes just doing this. But the point is this: if we can encourage you to join that journey, that's what we want to do. So that being said,
thank you, Steve.
Thank you. We have a little bit left.
All right, dude.
Cheers.
We'll see you next time.